Morning, people. If it's still morning that side. So today I want to try and help with Microsoft Excel, where we'll be doing functions. And the function that we'll be focusing on today will be nested ifs, because they carry a lot of marks in the exam. And I see that soon you'll be approaching your exams. You'll be writing CAT paper one. I'm not sure about it. I think it's on the 21, if not the 20th of this month of October. So I want to try and facilitate whatever I can so that you guys are able to, uh, maximize your marks in the exam. Because I know Cat Charles doesn't play around. So, we'll be looking at nested ifs. Now, a nested if is when you put a function, an if function to be specific, inside another if function, and it helps us to make more than one decision, because in some cases you might have more than one possibility. So if it was two possibilities, we'd use if. But then what happens if we have more than one or two possibilities? That's when we have to now think of using if inside an if. So I hope you are ready to listen and just do whatever I do. Just take notes on what I do. Another thing to maximize marks on CAT, I think when you're watching videos, YouTube videos or lessons, whatever, online, you should be able to write down notes, write down all the key points that you can pick up from that thing. So here, another thing that I can tell you about functions or Excel is that you should learn to follow your your function. Learn to follow your function. So since today we are focusing on nested ifs, our function will be if, and every time when you want to type in a function, you must make sure you always start with the equal sign so that the function can be activated, because if it is not, nothing will happen, right? So always start with the equal sign and write if. So as you can see, our if function is displayed here. Now it says logical test, a value if true, a value if false. But if you can check in between these parameters or in between these words, you can see that we have, I don't know if it's a semicolon or what. So whatever that the function is showing you here is whatever you should follow, you should also do. You type it in. If there's a comma, you type the comma. That's how you can also maximize your marks, by knowing what the function demands, right? Good. So let's see. We want to check ukuthi bupsi, passed, failed, or got a distinctions. Mara is getting a distinction in CAT, now you're just order farming, but it's fine. So now this is how they used to calculate our marks in high school. I don't know if in varsity they do the same thing. This is how they calculate marks. They use nested ifs and lookups, right? So since we want to check if this person who scored 17 either passed, failed, or this person is just all of farming. So what we do, like I said, you first input the equal sign and then you type your function. When you're reading the question paper in PET, they always tell you which function to use. And if they don't tell you which function to use, they make sure to give you hints. So when you're busy reading your question paper there, make sure that you further read and proofread your question, because we can make mistakes. They always give hints. That's one thing I like about CAT. So we'll double click on that. Now, logical test. Logical test is like saying what is it that we are looking for. Now, what we are looking for is to check if this marks of Boobsy qualifies Boobsy as a person who passed or failed, right? So what you do is you click on the logical test so we can check if this person passed or failed, right? So we're going to say that if this person, their marks are, let me see, if their marks are below 50, so B4 must be less than less than 50. I hope you understood what I was saying when I said the logical test just asks you what is it that you want this cell or this space to be. So I want to know if this cell B4 is less than 50. If it's less than 50, now what is next here? After the logical test, we have a semicolon. So we put that semicolon there. Good. You can see it even shifts from logical test to value if true. Now on value if true, that means if that cell which is B4, which is the marks or the score of Boobsy, if that cell is less than 50, what is it that you want the system to write? What is it that you want the nested if to write if that cell is below 50? That's all the value if true means. So I want it to write fail if this person got less than 50. So I'm gonna put inverted commas and then I just type in fail, because obviously if you got less than 50, it's shy. But okay, after that the formula demands another one. It demands another semicolon, so you put another colon there. Now on value if false is just the opposite of value if true. What this means is if we do not find 50, it's a false, right? Less than 50 is a false. What is it that you want the system or the function to display? I hope it makes sense. So in this case, if I only had two possibilities, maybe it's pass and fail. This is where I would type in if it's greater than 50, then it's a pass. But since we're talking about nested ifs, an if upon an if, it means that we're going to include another if, because we have more than two outcomes or more than two possibilities here. Now, if this one is not true, the first condition, I want this one, B4, to be 80 and above you. Yeah. Okay. I want it to be 80 and above, so it will be this 80. Or you can make it simple and just write above 79. It's above 79. What is it that we want if it's above 79? We want it to display. You can see that the formula demands a semicolon, right? So as it demands a semicolon, you put a semicolon like that. If B4 is above 79, what we want is to display the person who's claiming and getting distinctions in CAT. The person who's aura farming wanted to display aura farm there. So we'll put inverted commas aura farm. Aura farm is just a fun way of me saying a distinction, obviously, right? So since it's like that, now you see that if, let me start over. If the first if says that if this cell B4 is less than 50, we want it to display fail. But if it doesn't display, it's not less than 50, it doesn't display fail. What is it else that we want it to display? So if B4 is greater now than 79, meaning that it's starting from 80 and above. We want it to display order farm, right? The formula now demands a semicolon, so put a semicolon. Now, if the value is false, so now we come to our third option, which is the middle part, right? Which is the middle part. I advise you to always put the below one and the above one. I don't know if it makes sense when doing nested if. Forget about the middle part. They always, okay, most of the time they put it in the middle. So forget about this part. Just focus on the first option and the third option when you're doing your nested ifs. So if this B4 is not greater than 79 and is not below 50, it means it's in between. What is it that we want it to display? So if this is false and this is false, now what is it that you want us to display? We want it to display that this person just passed. Person just passed, so put inverted commas and then we'll write pass. This person just passed, whether it's luck or not, whether it's hardworking, this person just passed. They don't want to order farm and they don't want to fail. But this is how we do it. Now, you have to notice that we used how many brackets here? We used 1 and 2. So when it comes to closing this part, you have to also input 2 brackets to close it. 1, 2. And then you just enter. As you can see, Bootsy got less than 50, hence the person failed. So this is how nested ifs work. This is how they function, right? They function, it's a function. Okay. Now you can also drag the formula down and then automatically you will see the results here. Failed, order farming. Oh, goodness, order farming. Nice. Tato, 99. Okay. Yeah. So this is how it works. So let's do another example just to make sure that the information is embedded into your brains before the exam. Because I know if you don't know functions or even if you do know them and you go to the exam, you'll cry. I'm not discouraging you, it's just that this thing is tough and I have my own experience, but I nailed it anyways. Okay, so here we have wanna check if these people here are part-timers or employees or they're admins, right? So they are delegated to certain codes. If it's a P, then that person is a part-timer. If it's an E, that person is an employee. If it's an A, that person is an admin. So we use nested if because we have more than 2 options, right? So even if they don't tell you during exams, which I highly doubt because they always do tell, you will have to notice that in this case the function that I have to use is if, and I must not just use if, I should use nested ifs and if inside of an if, right? So like I said, equal sign, if function, and then we follow the formula. Logical test. What is it that we want to test? We want to check if this person, which whatever code they're having, are they qualified as a part-timer or a full-time employee or an admin. So if that code or if B11 is equals to P. Oh, yeah, P. Should I put inverted commas? I'm not sure. Hey, let me see. Let me just put inverted commas just to make sure. If it doesn't work, we'll just fix it. I went. Hey. Okay. Yeah. Now, hey, it's boobsy again. It's not crumbler. It's not going here. She failed. Now she's a part-timer. She quits a lot. Okay. And then we want to check if B11 is equals to P, right? And then we'll put semicolons. Like I said, you follow the formula here. Check what it wants. So put the semicolon. If this B11 or this cell is equals to P, what we want is the system to tell us if they are part-time or employee or an admin. So if this value is true, we want the system to display part-time. So we put inverted commas part-time. We check the formula. A wants a semicolon, put a semicolon there. Now if this cell is not equals to P, what is it that we want? So listen to what I'm saying. If I'm emphasizing on the F, if this cell is not equals to P, what is it that we want it to display? Again, so if it's not equals to P, we want it to display something else, right? So we want another if. So I'm sure you have noticed by now that we put another if on the value if false on the first time, right? So put another if. So if this value is not equals to P, we want it to be equals to this B11. How? B11? We want B11 to be equals to E, right? So if B11 equals to E, we follow the formula. There's a semicolon there. Put a semicolon. If it's true that this B11 is equals to E, we want it to display employee. Where commas? Is it inverted? Am I saying the right thing? Whatever. Okay. Then we type in employee, just like that. Notice that we're done saying what we want if the value is true. So the formula demands what? A semicolon. Then we put a semicolon, just like that. So if this B11 is not equals to P and it's not equals to E, meaning that it won't display part-time, it won't display employee, what is it that we want it to display? We want it to display admin. So on the value if false, this is the second time, right? So we want it to display admin. And remember, I said after you're done, you have to close it 2 times because you open 2 brackets, you open 2 ifs. So it's bracket, and then press enter. Oh, it worked. So you see, boobs is a part-time and boobs failed the chat. Okay, this is how nested ifs work, and then you can just drag down the formula to see what others got. So we have part-time, admin, and employee. But I've noticed that in exams or tests, they don't like giving a name for the third option. So if ever they will say this, they do not display anything if this criteria is not met. So if they say you shouldn't display anything, it's simple. You are just going to code nothing. You just remove the word and put inverted commas only. And if that person or that condition is met, it won't display anything here. Let's see. You can see for admin, it displayed nothing. So that's how nested if works. So we have two. Number one, read your question thoroughly. Number two, learn to follow the formula. Number three, check the key points on your question paper. That's how you can deal with nested if and keywords, get the marks. And you can also order farm, just like what Tato there. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope that you understood what I was saying. If you have any questions, you can just tell me in the comments and I'll try to assist again. And even if you're lazy, hey, it's not that hard to just extend your hand to the right and click the subscribe button. That would help very much. And yeah, thank you for watching.